Welcome back to the Extraordinary Self podcast, where we dive deep into the mindset shifts that help us create a life of alignment, confidence, and purpose. I'm Maria, and today we're tackling a belief that runs deep for so many of us. This idea that everything worth having has to be hard. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if great things don't require struggle, but instead flow? A few months ago, I shared a thought on Instagram threads that's been shifting everything for me. Summarizes this shift that's been going on for a little while inside of myself. I wrote, "We often speak of hard work and leaving our comfort zones, feeling pain for growth and evolution. However, I'm starting to realize that the ease I feel has nothing to do with the work I do or yet have to do. What if ease and flow don't signal a lack of evolution? What if ease and flow are the energizing forces from which we work?" Let that sink in for a moment. If you've ever found yourself believing that success has to come from grinding, pushing, and suffering, or if you feel guilty when things come easily, this episode is for you. We're going to explore why we've been conditioned to equate hardship with worthiness, how we can accomplish just as much or even more with ease, and some practical shifts to help you move from struggle mode to flow mode. Ready? Let's get into it. I'm excited. Think about the phrases that we grow up hearing. No pain, no gain. If it were easy, everyone would do it. Nothing worth having comes easy. We've been taught that struggle equals value, that the harder something is, the more it means. And don't get me wrong, effort is important, but there's a difference between working hard and making things unnecessarily hard for ourselves. For example, I used to think that if I wasn't exhausted at the end of the day, I wasn't doing enough. I would overcomplicate things and add unnecessary stress, to be honest, and make even simple tasks feel overwhelming. Because deep down, I believe that struggle made me more deserving. And that was a realization that took me a long time to come to terms with. That I don't have to have this belief that things have to be so hard. What if this is not true? What if success doesn't have to feel like pushing a boulder uphill? We've been so conditioned with this. I was so conditioned. Let's break down hard work versus struggle, because this is not at all about saying I don't believe in hard work. Hard work is about dedication, it's about commitment and consistency. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it, but struggle is different. Struggle is it's resistance, it's friction, it's burnout. It's when we fight against a process instead of working with it. Think about the people who make success look effortless. Athletes in the zone, musicians playing with ease, entrepreneurs who seem to attract opportunities. They're not necessarily working harder than anyone else. They're just not fighting themselves in the process. So what's one area of your life where you're making things harder than they need to be? Where are you choosing struggle over flow? And why don't we ask ourselves this question? What if it were easy? What if instead of expecting things to be difficult, we trained ourselves to expect flow? This doesn't mean avoiding challenges. It means approaching them with confidence instead of resistance. Instead of saying something like, I have so much to do today, try something like, everything I need to get done will happen with ease. It sounds simple, but when you stop assuming things will be hard, your brain stops looking for ways to make them harder. We can kind of outsmart our brain, right? Our brains are wired to seek what we focus on. If you expect struggle, you'll find it. But if you expect things to flow smoothly, your brain will start working in your favor. There's actual science behind this. Psychologists call this a flow state. That feeling when you're fully immersed in what you're doing. Time flies and everything feels effortless. I used to struggle to find a word for this, and I came across someone that called it your zone of genius. And my zone of genius came too far and in between that when I experienced it, I'm like, what is this? I need to capture this. And what I was trying to capture in my life was that alignment and that flow, as opposed to grinding and stressing and, just all these things that we equate to like working hard. And when I would find that flow and that alignment, it felt magical. And it was almost like too good to believe. And it was very like dreamy because I would experience it too far in between. But it's something that truly exists. And as I've learned to live in that space for prolonged periods of time and kind of exist there, I realize that it can actually happen, that we can actually be productive, hardworking individuals who produce through the zone of genius or flow, and get rid of some of that resistance, or learn how to use resistance and realize what it is. Okay, so how do we cultivate flow? I focused on what excites you. You can focus on that. Flow happens when you're engaged and not forcing yourself. So the more you kind of lean towards things that bring you joy, that bring you excitement, that tap into your curiosity, into your innate talent, into all that, you will be existing and being more present in this state. We can remove unnecessary resistance, right? Are we overcomplicating things? Because we already think that things should be super hard, that's the only way that you succeed. We only have one way of envisioning this path, right? Are we adding stress that doesn't need to be there? So ask yourself that. And also trusting the process. Like, stop second guessing every step and lean into progress over perfection. That was huge for me, right? When I stopped letting go of my perfectionism and I just started to live in a place where the unknown and the future wasn't something I was overly concerned with. I had a vision, I had an intention, but I went with like, what's right in front of me and what can I do with that? That produced sort of like this life where I just trust life in general more, where I trust myself more. I trust where things will lead me and that things will happen for me as I continue to take those steps and not live in so much worry about the future. So one thing that needs to happen too is that we need to begin to let go of feeling guilty when things come easily. This is a big one because we assume we didn't earn it. But what if ease is a sign you're in alignment? What if struggle isn't proof of your worth, but a sign that you're actually out of sync? I think when there's an extreme amount of resistance and it's a big signal, I've been learning, that you're out of sync to where you should be. Because when you are really in this flow state and in alignment, you'll see how like doors start opening up. You produce and you create more out of this place that feels so authentic and so organic for you. And it's sort of like you've already envisioned yourself there and you're stepping into that place. So where in your life have things felt easy? I want you to think about that as you listen to the remainder of this podcast. Where did you resist it? What would happen if you leaned into ease instead of like guilt? Right? When are you resisting like, this can't be, this can't happen? Or do you just have like a mindset like that, that things don't come easily? Things are always hard. This is how you earn things. Do you think like that? So how do we shift from struggle to ease? I recorded a whole podcast on affirmations and how you can make affirmations work for you when they don't feel sincere and inauthentic and kind of like you're lying to yourself. But affirmations truly do rewrite your story. You can start your day off, as opposed to saying, here's another day of like hard work. You can maybe say something like, success flows to me with ease. I can work hard without struggling. I trust the process and embrace ease. Right? Another thing you can do is interrupt patterns. Notice when you're making things harder than they need to be. Then pause and ask, what if this could be easier? What's so bad about that? Like, we kind of have a stigma against things being easy because it signals to us or it means that we're lazy or we're not hard workers. But how about if it could be easier, and the easier way is the better way? It's not always negative. It doesn't always signal something negative. How about scripting our own success? Write out a scenario where things flow easily. Get specific. How does it feel? How do you show up? It's this power of kind of like spiritually creating your experiences that you want before they happen. And I truly believe in that. I believe personally that prayer is a spiritual creation of your day. That as we pray, we are spiritually creating what we envision for the day, and then we step into that by taking action. That's truly how we interrupt this pattern, and how we start rewriting what hard work looks like to us, and what success and how we can achieve success. It's this internal rescripting. Another thing is take that inspired action, right? We spiritually create through scripting our success, through looking and envisioning and imagining how this will happen. And instead of forcing yourself into resistance, ask yourself, what's the most aligned next step? So these are some ways that we can start rewriting this idea, that we stop kind of putting the grind and the struggle on like this beautiful shrine or something. We stop worshiping the idea that everything has to be so brutally hard when it could be different. And why not? Why not create this shift that actually our creator and the purpose of our life doesn't have to be so brutally hard? You know, my belief, my personal belief is that we were created to have joy. We were created to find joy in our talents, in our self-actualization, and that it doesn't have to be this super, super hard thing. So here's a takeaway. Success doesn't have to be a battle. Yes, effort is required. Yes, challenges will come, but we don't have to live in a state of struggle to prove our worth. What if the secret, the big secret to doing great things isn't grinding harder, but allowing things to flow? What if ease isn't a weakness, but a strength? I would love to hear your thoughts on this and how we can start cutting or breaking these chains of an obsession with, if it's not hard, you're not in it. It's kind of like anything new feels foreign. Anything new brings up fear, and it feels hard because it's new, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it cannot become easy, that you can learn to adopt this. Why don't you just start talking to yourself differently and see how things feel, and see how things start materialize in a different way, and how you can literally exist in a different state of being, as opposed to like, here comes another day, the life where it's all about hardness and struggle just does not like resonate with me anymore to live in that. And I consider myself still a hard worker, a high achiever, someone that has goals. That doesn't mean that we let go of that part of us. It's just the way we operate, the way we see life. And we begin to move with this energy, and it creates momentum, and we're in this flow, and we continue this flow, and it just is so energizing and so positive to produce like this and to live like this. So if today's episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone that you think might find value in this conversation. There's obviously much more I can say, but until next time, where we continue to unlock your extraordinary self. Take care, my beautiful ones.